Is the origin of modern humans not African at all? And is the by consensus imposed African Modern-Human Mitochondrial Eve, quite surprisingly in fact American and originating from Neanderthals? These are two for a correct human history essential questions that will be answered in this video. We are told by consensus, this for over 100 years, roughly since Darwinism, that modern humans are of African origin. Further and much more recent that the first modern human mother was mitochondrial Eve, and that she or rather her mtDNA was detected in modern sub-Saharan Africans, which again, this according to consensus, should make that once more all humans are of African origin. When consensus makes this conclusion in favor of earlier consensus, consensus totally negates the possibility and importance of early oceanic navigation. This while the facts clearly prove that oceanic navigation was key in the expansion of humans across the planet, this surprisingly also in the very depth of the human history. The concept of mitochondrial Eve was published in 1987 by geneticists Rebecca Cann, Mark Stoneking, and Alan Wilson. They collected and analyzed mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, including mtDNA-L, from various human populations. Their findings, published in the journal Nature, concluded that all living humans can trace their maternal lineage back to a single female ancestor who lived in Africa approximately 200,000 years ago. Despite that this standpoint is now consensus, we pose the question if mitochondrial Eve in fact is American Neanderthal-Mitochondrial Eve. This first of all because rather recently it was discovered by means of ancient DNA that this supposed mother of all modern humans, more specifically the mtDNA-L that she carried, already long before her was carried by all Neanderthals. The fact that the highest frequencies of the most important mtDNA-L are located exactly in the location where the most important Atlantic circulations and currents, and in this case, more specifically the Guinea Current, form a kind of dead alley and make floating objects like ships, could land or anchor more easily on this particular African Atlantic facade, and from it again depart for the Americas, could be a first realistic hint for the American origin of this amongst modern Africans found mtDNA-L, or mitochondrial Eve DNA. Never an ancient close descendant of this by consensus supposed African Eve was ever found, and also this should raise questions regarding African origin, and further favors American origin. Relatively recent, roughly 5,000 years ago, the important and for Africa rather typical Y-DNA R1BV88 enters Africa, and this in exact the same location as mtDNA-L probably did long before, confirming the important role of intercontinental oceanic circulations, currents, and suitable landing and again intercontinental departure places, this in combination with resources in high demand in reach. This for Africa rather typical Y-DNA R1BV88 is as all other R1b of American origin, simply because only in the Americas the prehistoric ancestor or root R1 can be found. At the same time and systematically around the world, a picture of a transcontinental or rather global and advanced civilization and economy emerges. As expected, consensus negates, and in fact not even considers an advanced civilization, nor economy, and certainly not intercontinental or global ones. This makes that in most cases when someone talks about Atlantis or another name of a supposed advanced civilization, never or seldom an ancient seafaring and intercontinental civilization or economy is considered. This way such an advanced civilization hardly ever will be recognized. This for consensus most inconvenient fact of mitochondrial Eve DNA or mtDNA-L, possibly coming from Neanderthals, or being related to Neanderthals, and most of all not being of African origin, is not at all well spread amongst the general public. In fact, this fact is very difficult to find amongst the many publications that systematically negate the finding that this mtDNA-L was carried much earlier by Neanderthals. It is well known that consensus only and dogmatically defends an exclusive human much later African origin. Nevertheless, it is a fact that this supposed modern human of Homo sapiens mtDNA-L was carried long before by Neanderthals, and as presented on your screen, very important and advanced scientific publications pointed this out. We conclude and claim that this mtDNA-L was carried long before by Neanderthals, and this outside of Africa, and this most probably in the Americas. Further, the possibility that Neanderthals carried mtDNA-L should not have been a surprise at all, simply because of the known fact that modern humans and Neanderthals are sister groups. Modern humans and Neanderthals have a common ancestor, or in simple words have the same parents, and obviously that includes having the same mother, in common. Consequently, it should not have been a surprise that modern humans and Neanderthals would carry similar maternal DNA, and eventually mtDNAL, which is now proven to be the case. But as expected, this was not widely informed to the general public. Further, in this case, as in general in cases where it comes down to genetics, the alternative historians usually follow consensus. The alternative historians did not pick this clear inconvenience for consensus up yet, and also did not spread this for human history obvious key information yet. Once taking the new facts into account, modern humans are at least 410,000, or even 660,000 years old, and most probably and this because of Homo erectus that still not had its DNA sequenced, at least 2 million of years old, instead of the by consensus proposed roughly 200,000 years of age. After all, the roughly 2 million-year-old Homo erectus is not placed in this diagram and timeline yet. As long as the 2 million-year-old Homo erectus is not placed in the timeline yet, we claim that modern humans are at least 660,000 years old, simply because that is the estimated separation date between modern humans and Neanderthals. The timeline is not the thing that surprises most. What surprises most is the fact that the carriers of mitochondrial Eve DNA, in this case the Neanderthals, did not live in sub-Saharan Africa, and also left no DNA amongst later sub-Saharan Africans. Consequently, the origin of modern humans is not African. Further, it would bring up that there is no need left for the improbable assumption that humans without the Neanderthal fraction should have interbred with Neanderthals, this sometime after Africans without the Neanderthal fraction left Africa, this roughly 50,000 years ago, or roughly 47,000 years ago according to the geneticists. This supposed leaving Africa of Africans, together with the supposed interbreeding with Neanderthals, are supposed by consensus to have been the cause that all later modern humans carried and still carry this by consensus supposed Neanderthal fraction. Apart from the fact that Africans leaving Africa, as well as the subsequent interbreeding of these Africans with the low numbers of already vanishing and being replaced Neanderthals, especially together, turn out being highly improbable. This also was never proven in any substantial way. Further, the fact that the so-called Neanderthal fraction was carried and passed on by American Neanderthals would bring up that there is no need left for the claim that humans had crossed the Beringia land bridge, this in order to populate the Americas, simply because the human ancestor of the American Neanderthals, or the bias hypothesized original early modern humans, obviously would have been present in the Americas, simply because the original early modern humans were of American origin. These original early modern humans, and possibly the American Neanderthals themselves, left the here mentioned typical American Neanderthal markers amongst certain Native Americans, and consequently also along there, by means of genetic markers well proven, expansions to other continents. Further, this way these typical American Neanderthal markers are now unrelated to sub-Saharan Africa, and unrelated to Africa altogether. This, as well as the fact that modern humans are not of African origin, is confirmed by whole genome research, with the whole genome and the haplotype tree obviously being important, is also confirmed by all for this question essential ancestral markers. To conclude, the essence of this video is that the origin of modern humans is not African. In other videos we will give evidence that modern humans are not descendants of Neanderthals, but instead are descendants of what we call the original early modern humans, which are nothing else than the common ancestor of modern humans, Neanderthals, and Denisovans, that most probably is at least 2 million years old, and as explained and proven are of American origin. These original early modern humans were, and possibly still are, genetically almost identical to all 8 billion actually living modern humans, and provingly are over 2 million years old, and provingly are of American origin. This is something that can explain the indications of modern humans in Sulawesi of 1.5 million years old, in China of 1 million years old, and in Jebel Irhoud in Morocco of 310,000 years old. Consensus and consensus human history, that refers to mitochondrial Eve as the origin, are unable to explain these cases of very old modern humans, older than 200,000 years. In case you are unaware of these cases of very old modern humans, a possible source for more info is the popular Michael Button YouTube channel, which offers compact and well-edited videos, presented and spoken by the author Michael Button, who is a historian and has an academic background. Nevertheless, our Origin for Existence videos and series go much more in detail than his, as well as possibly all others, and quite uniquely involve haplogroups, genetics in general, and especially essential ancestral markers. Above all, our Origin for Existence videos and series illustrate key practices and solutions from the deep past that made our ancestors thrive and simultaneously solve their challenges. Further and essential for our channel, we claim and prove that the modern version of these same key practices and solutions from the deep past once again would make us 8 billion modern humans thrive while simultaneously solving all our since long accumulated challenges. Apart from the importance we give to ocean circulations, the main difference between these original early modern humans and modern humans mainly lies in the methylations that modern humans underwent since the time of the original early modern humans, roughly at least 2 million years ago.